Well, what a crazy 24 hours it's been. There's no going back now, my friends, because Raw is officially debuted on Netflix. My gosh, was it an interesting show. Before we get into the details, I think it's important to emphasize, using some wrestling vernacular, just how impressive the production was. The way the show looked, the way it felt, and some of the techniques WWE employed were pretty damn remarkable. Never watched wrestling before and had this outdated notion that it's some low budget thing born in smoky pubs or bars. This show would have completely blown your mind. Right from the start, when they had their weird curtain setup projecting the intro video before it dropped to reveal Triple H standing there, it was such a slick presentation from a production standpoint. It was superb. And honestly, AEW could capitalize on this by going in the opposite direction, being more raw, unpolished, and gritty, in order to establish itself as a true alternative. But even if you're not a WWE fan, you'd have to admit the presentation of this episode was top notch. The look, the feel, the camera cuts, and the overall execution was incredible. I can't remember the last time I watched WWE and felt like they had taken such a significant leap forward. Maybe it was back when they transitioned to a high definition. Even then, I'm not sure it felt this impactful. The point is, while watching this episode, I was genuinely impressed. It almost made me feel a bit peculiar. Don't know why, but we can let that slide. Now, from a content perspective, it was clear that 50% of the show was tailored for hardcore fans, while the rest catered to casual viewers and new audiences WWE is hoping to attract. And you know what? I don't mind that. Wrestling never stops. It's a weekly thing. If one episode isn't for me, I just shrug it off, move to the next one. That said, there were some disappointing elements, and it's what everyone is talking about. The Rock was not the final boss. Yes, The Rock, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson appeared, but it wasn't the version fans were hoping for. We were hoping to know what was going to happen at WrestleMania based on which version of The Rock shows up. Unfortunately, this wasn't Final Boss Rock. Instead, it was corporate co-owner Rock, if you will, and he opened the show. When The Rock came out, he was mega over. The crowd reaction was massive. And let's be real, Dwayne Johnson is an incredibly likable guy. There's nothing wrong with him doing what he did. He's a great speaker. His PR, his press tours, his interviews, he's always engaging and he often drops nuggets of wisdom. But here's the thing, this is Raw. It's a wrestling show, and with us being on the road to WrestleMania, fans were excited to see what The Rock was going to do. Turned out that he was going to do was say, Cody Rhodes is brilliant, Roman Reigns is brilliant, and then go hug everyone. Now don't get me wrong, there's a niceness to that. I enjoy seeing human beings be kind to each other. During his opening speech, when he started dropping all those PR lines, totally fine and expected. Just didn't feel like the Rock we were hoping for. Cody Rhodes being at ringside felt a little odd too. It casually brushed off the animosity between Cody and The Rock as if the infamous bus beatdown happened 4,000 years ago. In reality, it was only about 10 months ago. That angle was incredible, heated, different for WWE, and bloody. Honestly, if you were to list the best angles in Raw history, The Rock annihilating Cody Rhodes outside his bus would rank pretty high. And yet, it was all just swept under the rug. To reiterate, I love Dwayne Johnson. He's great. But when I tune in to WWE to see The Rock, I want Final Boss Rock. A version of him that feels like an event. Even for new viewers, introducing that version of The Rock would have been far more compelling. Imagine a Rock who's mean, slightly unlikable, yet magnetic. Character who stops around saying, this is my house. That's the kind of portrayal that hooks people and makes them think, whoa, I need to tune in next week. Instead, we got the friendly, PR-savvy Rock, which felt like a missed opportunity. It's like watching a movie where Brad Pitt plays Bob the Builder. Sure, it's Brad Pitt, but it's not the version of him you'd expect or want for that context. Wrestling thrives on characters and moments that feel larger than life. And this didn't feel like that. From there, the show was a mix of highs and lows. The main event, Seth Rollins versus CM Punk, was phenomenal, worthy of its spot and a standout for the night. The tribal combat match between Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa was strong, but beyond that, the show felt uneven. For instance, Drew McIntyre versus Jey Uso was a curious booking decision. Jey is great, and Drew has been excellent since his return, but Drew losing here felt like the wrong call. If Drew had cheated to win, could have added more depth to his character. A chip on his shoulder heel with an edge. Instead, we got a surprise roll-up victory for Jey, which fell flat. On the women's side, Rhea Ripley defeating Liv Morgan was solid. Rhea is such a dominant presence, and I think she should continue being booked as an unstoppable force. The post-match antics with Rhea attacking Raquel Rodriguez and even hitting a riptide on Dominic Mysterio were entertaining. But then the Undertaker showed up on his motorcycle, did a lap around the ring, and posed with Rhea. It was bizarre but amusing. Still, I couldn't help but think, what's this guy doing here? The kind of randomness WWE loves, for better or worse. Elsewhere, there was some intriguing setups. Damian Priest versus Finn Balor in a street fight next week, which should conclude the Judgment Day saga. The introduction of Penta to WWE is exciting. He's set to face Chad Gable, and the tease was well done. And then there's John Cena, who cut a stellar promo announcing his entry into the Royal Rumble. Cena is just a master on the mic, and his self-awareness about his losing streak added layers to his character. All in all, the show had its moments, but didn't quite live up to the hype of being WWE's Netflix debut. The production was stellar, the star power undeniable, but it felt like WWE leaned too much on nostalgia and safe choices rather than taking risks. Still, this is a major step forward for WWE, and the exposure on Netflix can do wonders for the wrestling industry as a whole. At the end of the day, more eyes on wrestling benefit everyone, from WWE to AEW to the indie scene. So, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. Keep enjoying wrestling, stay positive, and I'll see you very soon in the next video.